Hi there, and welcome to another one of my classic reviews, where I pick one of my favourite movies, give it a rewatch, and then come review it. And in this video I'm going to talk about Rear Window, one of Alfred Hitchcock's many classic movies, and one of his very best work. So this is from 1954, and is a real gem of Hollywood. It's one of the very finest films from that entire era. Basically the premise is a photographer with a broken leg is cooped up in a room all day, and he just spends his days looking out of his apartment window, and just watching all the other people in their apartments. And then he begins to suspect somebody of a murder. It's not a particularly complex film, it's actually quite simple, but there's a lot going on here, and part of that is just how stunningly well made it is. Alfred Hitchcock is obviously a very well respected director, and his work in Rear Window is exemplary. There is so many beautiful technicolor shots in Rear Window, and there's so many long panning shots and just complex camera movements, and it's all beautifully executed. The camera never leaves the apartment, and in fact the whole film never leaves the apartment blocks that the film takes place in. It really traps its characters. In fact, I think this is why it's one of Hitchcock's most suspenseful movies, is because it literally entraps its characters. It's so entrapping that you know the characters can't escape, you know they're stuck there, and so whatever happens, they are really confined. Which is one of the reasons why it's just so tense. Obviously the master of suspense is Hitchcock, and so you'd expect that. But beyond that, Rear Window has many other great things. So the film is obviously kind of about voyeurism. It's about people looking at lives of others and keeping time watching other people. And I feel like the film makes voyeurs of the audience, because the audience themselves go along with it. In fact, something as trivial as one character not being seen for a few days leads to the lead character in Rear Window to suspect a murder. And in a way, they want it to be murder. It'd almost be too boring if it isn't, and yet that's what the audience wants too. And it's kind of perverse in that way. They're kind of playing with that sense of, well, you don't want it to be murder, but you kind of do for the sake of the story, for the sake of your own entertainment, for the sake of the fact that you're watching these people. There's also a few depressing subplots and a few interesting subplots just to do with the characters in Rear Window, because they're obviously filmed from within one apartment. You don't hear what's going on in the other apartments, but you can see it. And particularly one subplot involving Miss Lonely Heart as a single lady is very interesting in how depressing that kind of gets in parts. So there's a lot of these interesting aspects to it which are kind of fascinating. There's also a lot of ways that the film looks at marriage. The two lead characters are played by James Stewart and Grace Kelly, and they are absolutely great leads. The male lead overanalyzes marriage, which is kind of a key theme in that the way he looks at marriage and what he wants to do with his life conflict with the female lead. And when he looks out into this grand stage of all these characters and their lives, and he sees various stages of marriage within them. He sees the newlyweds, he sees a woman who's hanging out with a bunch of men she doesn't love, he sees the man who might have murdered his wife, and you start to wonder, maybe he's right to analyse marriage. In fact, there's a lot of things in here which I think are interesting, which some people have talked about before. Some people have viewed Rear Window in a feminist lens, or in the lens of it being about patriarchy. I mean, there's certainly a lot of strong female characters here, and also a lot of stuff about women who are strong-willed, and women who don't want to do what's expected of them, or women who don't fall in love or don't fall for men that they are traditionally expected to, and things like this, which play into an interesting aspect of Rear Window if you really wanted to go down that route. Obviously Rear Window is also just fantastically shot, it's fantastically made, it's really, really tense. Towards the end, when the characters are really, really trapped, it is some of Hitchcock's greatest ever suspense work. It also has just wonderful performances across the board, it also has a wonderful look. It feels bright and vibrant even though it sometimes isn't. There's also a lot of interesting ways that it works. You really don't know which way it's going to go. It's really one of those films that really is quite unpredictable. And all the things just kind of slot in towards the end in a very perfect way. It's an obvious classic, and everyone has already made their case that Rear Window is a masterpiece, and I don't really have much more to say. I think it's wonderful. I think it's great how it makes the audience part of the experience. I think it's great how it makes the audience do what the characters are doing. I think it's really fascinating as a work. I think it's brilliantly made. I think it's tense and exciting. I think it's enjoyable. I think it's mysterious. I think it has a couple of things that are worth analysing in a social context, because why not? Any film that's had this much cultural impact deserves to be analysed like that, and I think there's perfectly many ways that this is a significant work. So yeah, I think Rear Window is absolutely fantastic. I find it to be one of my favourite Hitchcocks and one of his obvious masterpieces. On some days it might be my favourite Hitchcock movie, although there is many contenders. So yeah, this is fantastic cinema and one of the very finest films ever made in Hollywood, and Rear Window is just an obvious classic across the board. I can't recommend this enough. It's obviously great, and one of the greatest films of the 1950s, undoubtedly. So have you seen Rear Window? I would love to hear your thoughts, so leave me a comment if you want, and give this video a like if you like what I said here. You can subscribe because I post reviews all the time, and if you want to keep up with what movies I'm watching, you can follow me on Letterboxd or Twitter, links in the description, and thank you for watching.